Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Strategy and Planning Series. My name is Andrew Gaffney. I'm Editorial Director at Demand Gen Report. I'm really glad you could join us today. One of the biggest challenges we hear from our readers in terms of building a successful strategy and programs is content. It continues to be sort of the king of how to get audiences to engage. It's also becoming one of the biggest struggles for B2B organizations as they try to think of different ways to make their content more creative and get beyond speeds and feeds. So this next session is going to be a great one. It's Make 2019 Your Best Content Year Yet, and we'll have a speaker that's going to present some great ways about how to bust through roadblocks and think differently. This series is hosted by Demand Gen Report. If you're not already taking advantage of our content on a regular basis, we encourage you to become a subscriber. You can do that at demandgenreport.com, and you'll get access to our proprietary research, our newsletter, as well as our regular content that we produce on B2B marketing and performance marketing. Also encourage you to check out our social groups. We've got one called Demand Gen Specialists on LinkedIn that gets a lot of great conversations, and then also follow us on Twitter as well. I want to remind everyone that outside of the webinar series we produce, we also have a great physical event we do in February in Arizona. The B2B Marketing Exchange is growing rapidly, so check out. That'll be February 25th to the 27th. Great content there, 6 different tracks. Also, we have a community called B2BM Experts. We use the Influitive platform where people can participate in challenges, have conversations. That's been another great asset for us in the community as well, so check that out. I want to remind everyone that you'll have a chance to win prizes. The more sessions that you register and attend, you get points and increase your opportunity to win. There are Starbucks gift cards that are presented for each session, and then each day you'll have opportunity to win complimentary passes to the B2B Marketing Exchange that I mentioned earlier. So encourage you to participate, and hopefully you'll win. Some quick housekeeping. This presentation is scheduled to last around 30 minutes. We will be taking questions at the end of the presentation. I encourage you to go ahead and type them in as they come to mind. You can submit them right in the Q&A tab within the On24 platform. Some other housekeeping within On24, you can check out the Resource Center and download some related resources. Also, you can follow the social media stream. Encourage everyone to be active socially. Try to share any of the highlights of today that you're seeing. If you have any questions, comments, we'll be monitoring those as well. Topic, really important to our overall series. We've got a great speaker today. I've had the good fortune of working closely with Kelly DeLeon from MX Group. Kelly's the Vice President of Marketing and Strategy there. She joined the MX Group in 2013. Kelly brings more than 15 years of client and agency side experience working in marketing across a variety of industries, including industrial products, healthcare, software, nonprofit, and professional services. Kelly leads the internal marketing function for the agency, managing demand generation and sales enablement to propel the company's continued growth. Kelly holds frequent workshops and speaks regularly on a variety of B2B topics, including content marketing, demand generation, account-based marketing, and more. Welcome, Kelly. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Andrew. I'm so excited to be with you all today. And hey, based on the fact that you're even listening to this webinar, I'm going to go ahead and assume you're bought in on the valuable role content marketing can have in reaching your objectives. But we have some roadblocks that might be in your way, and I want to talk to you about how to think differently about those in 2019. So we just want to talk about how to make 2019 your best year yet and really talk about some of the challenges you're facing, and I really want to get to reviewing some concrete steps that you can take to overcome your challenges. Talk about challenges. I'm sure you've probably seen 100 stats similar to this one. By now, it's old news. Content production is up, and B2B buyers are inundated with marketing, making it harder than ever to break through. And if that weren't enough, this stat proves that sometimes even the people in your own organization aren't using your marketing content, and you are on the same team. So what's going on here? The fact of the matter is there's a lot of missteps happening in content marketing, from bad content to misaligned content to misaligned strategy to no strategy at all. We can do better, and that's what we're here to talk about today. I run workshops with clients and marketers like you pretty frequently, and we talk about some of the challenges. So let's see if any of this sounds familiar. We make a plan, but it never really gets off the ground. Or, I have a hard time getting anyone to participate. Or how about this one? We have a lot of ideas, but we can never quite get it all done. Or maybe, it seems like we're stuck doing the same old year in and year out. Well, whatever your particular challenge, it's clear that it's going to take some ingenuity and some guts to really break through in 2019. But the good news is, I've got some ideas for you for next year. You'll need to think differently to make sure every hour, every resource, every dollar you spend on content this year is worth it. To do that, you need to focus on serving customers first and transacting second. So what do I mean by that? Focus on being of service to your customer, and then the interaction of building an audience, generating a lead, or closing a sale will follow. Today, we'll talk about 3 ways you can think differently in 2019. We'll start by focusing on gaining alignment and buy-in. Then we'll talk about how to create that value that serves customers first. And finally, I'll leave you with some thoughts to help you get inspired. Alignment and buy-in are critical for an effective content marketing program, not just for budget approvals, but for participation of stakeholders and subject matter experts, or SMEs as I'll refer to them for the rest of the webinar. These folks can help you create truly valuable content. We'll dig more into this later, but trust me when I say that odds are your best marketing content simply isn't going to be developed from your marketing insights. You need the expertise of others in your organization who are deeply steeped in your products, your customers, and your industry. And to get what you need from them, you'll need to start at the beginning with alignment. It's important to note that someone's time or involvement is not the same as alignment. We hear often that our clients have difficulty getting leadership on board, or maybe SME interest wanes over time and they can't keep them engaged. And usually this is a result of failing to get alignment from the very beginning. So while, yes, eventually you'll hope to get some time and involvement from your subject matter experts, first you need to focus on alignment. And alignment begins with acknowledging that your marketing goals are only part of a bigger plan to reach your organization's business goals. You need to focus on broader business objectives that are meaningful to the sales stakeholders and subject matter experts you're working with. You just can't expect your sales team or subject matter experts or whoever you need participation from to immediately be excited about your content marketing initiative. You have to remember that they have a whole other job to do. So instead, start with the business objective you're trying to accomplish, whether that's breaking into new markets, improving retention, increasing sales, whatever the case may be. Then you want to connect that broader business objective with underlying goals that are going to be relevant to your partners, such as shortening the sales cycle or educating buyers on a new product or process. Or maybe it's about migrating customers to a different ordering mode or a new experience through e-commerce. Or even increasing the close rate by eliminating people that fall out of the sales funnel at a certain stage. When your partners see that you understand their goals and they can connect the activity that they do when they partner with you with real results, then you're in alignment. Your second challenge is keeping buy-in for the long haul with people who are really, really, really busy. Does this sound familiar? Your sales team likes the idea of partnering with you on content, and they even say they want to do it, but they're so busy it just never materializes. Trust me, I feel ya. I have been there, done that. And I can provide some help to help you break through that roadblock. First, when you're working with a subject matter expert or a sales team member, just make sure you keep reorienting them to the context of the broader business goal you're aligned around. Remind them what's in it for them, and reinforce the point that their help in creating content can dramatically increase results, which will help them achieve their goals. Second, and this one is critical, be wise about how you spend stakeholder and SME time so they consistently see their partnership with you as a valuable investment of their time. One way to show subject matter experts that you value their time is by creating and maintaining a consistent process. This content collaboration process you see on screen leverages subject matter experts at key points, gathering the insight and value that only they can provide, and then creating an engine to take that information to create content. This is just a high-level example of the process we recommend, but I'll walk you through it. The first thing to point out is that you are not asking subject matter experts to create any content. Let them do what they do best, and don't try to make them into content creators. Instead, you'll see that there are 3 distinct areas where I recommend leveraging subject matter experts, and those are highlighted in the blue circles. Let me take you through the process a bit. It begins with an ideation brief. This is a document that is prepared by the marketing team for subject matter experts to get up to speed on a topic quickly so that they can walk into a brainstorming session ready to hit the ground running. This ideation brief should include context on the content objective and how it ties to perceived customer needs. Maybe you want to share some relevant examples from competitors. Also include things like key areas of opportunity, such as SEO phrases you might want to target, and any other supporting research that would be beneficial. The document should be thorough, but also something that shouldn't take a subject matter expert more than 15 to 20 minutes to read and process. Next comes the ideation session. This is a very purposeful version of brainstorming. These sessions are very process-driven. Time and time again when I run these workshops, either internally or with clients, it's amazing to me how much can be accomplished in a very short amount of time when you employ a thoughtful process that makes good use of subject matter expert time. We'll dig deeper into how to run these ideation sessions in a minute, but before we do that, let's run through the rest of the process. The actual content development process is back to being on the marketing team's responsibility. Whether you have an internal team or you need to use freelancers or an agency partner, you'll leave the ideation session with great fodder to develop a creative brief, and then you can be off and running into the content creation itself. You'll then come back and tap into the subject matter expertise again for content review. Again, it's critical at this stage to think about how you use their time wisely. Engage your subject matter experts only when the content is far enough along and polished enough to warrant their review, but not so far along that you'll be frustrated or backtracking too much based on their feedback. And here's a little insider tip, word to the wise. I recommend setting a meeting time to gather content feedback from SMEs. Time and time again, I've seen it to be kind of difficult to gather feedback on drafts going back and forth via email. Sometimes it's counterproductive, and sometimes you just plain get no response. Again, these are busy folks, and it can get buried in their email. But when you meet with a subject matter expert to get their feedback, they can expand on what they mean, you can clarify any questions you have, and then ensure that your next draft meets their expectations. So once you've completed the content and published it, don't forget this last blue circle here. Your subject matter experts can play a great role in amplifying your content in their channels with authenticity to their network. Now let's talk a little bit more about these ideation sessions. Ideation sessions are a great way to build a foundation for great content for the entire year. We run these for clients and for our own purposes internally, and I'm telling you, in just 90 minutes, we have enough ideas and even full content outlines to fuel the content engine around one topic for an entire year. So here are some tips on how to get the most out of ideation sessions. First, make sure to provide the ideation brief far enough in advance to allow SMEs time to prepare. Next, maximize the time. Structure the time for the session and stick to the plan. Focus on extracting the value that you can only get from the participants in the room, and if things start to go off on a tangent, set it aside and focus on the task at hand. Make it active and engaging. Plan your session to include a mix of individual work and group discussion to keep the group engaged. And get up and move around the room with exercises that use whiteboards or sticky notes. This kind of keeps everyone's blood pumping and ensures that people aren't staring at their cell phones and checking their email. Begin with the business objective. I know this is one I'm enthusiastic about, but make sure you're reminding participants about the bigger goal you're trying to achieve, leveraging the alignment that you've already established. Next, focus on the buyer. Begin with buyer needs and questions. If you've already done personas at your organization, this is a great time to pull them out and review the critical points. If not, consider including a timed brainstorm of buyer needs and pain points around this topic right within your ideation session. You want to talk about things like what questions are buyers asking, what are they trying to understand about their problem, or what information do they need to find to be able to make a decision. Next, use constraints. For example, think about giving participants 5 minutes to come up with as many content ideas as possible. But to keep them from being vague or meandering, make your participants write the actual title of content they're recommending and limit that to 10 words or less. Yeah, that might be an artificial constraint, and yeah, titles might be longer or shorter than that, but it forces the team to really get concrete and imagine what they might propose. In these sessions, there are no bad ideas. In fact, I must confess that some of the most out there ideas have ended up sparking conversations that have led to some of my best content plays. So focus everyone's attention on saying yes and building on each other's ideas. Eliminate any negative energy and prohibit responses like, well, not really that, but instead we should. Really just try to keep it positive and keep the energy upbeat and building upon each other's ideas. Next, vote. Vote on the best ideas out of everything that you've come up with. Utilize the expertise you have in the room to vet the ideas and identify the best ones. You'll want to focus on ideas that feature content that delivers value to customers, reflects ideas that either you or the team truly has expertise in, and something that you can provide a unique take on. And finally, make sure you really get what you came for, which is fodder for content. To do that, you want to use the last portion of your time for a rapid outlining session. Trust me, no one wants to leave a brainstorming session with a huge laundry list of great ideas that seem totally overwhelming because there's so much more research to be done, or because you don't totally understand that one idea from Steve that everyone else seemed so stoked about. So reserve the last, say, 10 or 15 minutes at the end of a session to ask participants to create an outline. Assign each of the ideas that garnered the most votes to an individual in the room, and then you can have them create individual content outlines. And you can even structure that by creating a consistent worksheet that everyone can use to develop their outline. By the end of a session like this, you'll not only have the seeds for lots of great content, but you'll also have even deeper alignment from the participants who have shared their insights because they had a say in what is being produced. So this participation can also come in really handy down the road. If it's months later and you're getting questions or pushback on a piece of content or why you're going in a certain direction, it can be really helpful to refer back to the ideation session and remind people that the idea came from the group and was vetted by the team. So it can be really easy to leave one of those ideation sessions really fired up for the year, but sometimes the fire can quickly fade as people get busy and enthusiasm wanes. But that's where your job as a marketer comes in to keep the team bought in and excited. And what I have found is the key way to keep people excited is through results. Not just achieving results, which obviously you need to have results to show, but also to make sure that you're reporting back. So sure, you can report on some basic engagement measurements, but the bigger thing is to make sure that you're focusing most on the things that matter to your audience. So things like what's impacting the pipeline. Don't be afraid to ask directly in sales meetings, hey, what's working and what's not? And then if you get anecdotal evidence from the sales team, make sure to pass that along as well. For example, hey, Bob shared this piece of content content with a prospect and this happened. Or I just heard from Linda who spoke with a customer who took our online assessment and called in to upgrade. Make sure you're showing continuous improvement and responsiveness to feedback. And don't be shy. As much as marketers are usually good at promoting stuff, oftentimes we do a bad job of promoting ourselves internally. So it's easy to be so busy getting the job done and cranking out all this great content that it seems like a low priority to share the awesome job you're doing. But it needs to come up higher on your list. This will help you with that alignment and buy-in over time. So if you're a marketer, and make sure you're marketing your efforts internally. Play up your wins and make every salesperson want to see those same results that they heard Bob or Linda had. And make sure you're sharing those results up the ladder, too, with senior leadership so they understand that your efforts are really paying off. Next big theme here is to focus on creating value. This might seem like a, well, duh type of topic, but sometimes it's so easy to get focused on our goals and our needs that we lose sight of our customer. But if you want to make 2019 your best year yet, you need to focus on buyers. What is the buyer's journey? How do they buy? What do they need to make that decision? And what are their obstacles along the way? That the buyer's journey is becoming more and more digital, and the amount of time and research buyers spend before engaging sales or becoming known prospects is always increasing. And our marketing content often needs to replace many of the conversations that used to happen with sales. It's more and more a self-service experience, but it doesn't mean we have no control. We need to acknowledge that it's self-service, but that as marketers we can still play a critical role in shaping the experience. Think about the experience of checking in at the airport kiosk. It's great when it's efficient. You roll up, check in, get your boarding pass, drop your bag, and you're on your way. But that same experience can be incredibly frustrating when you spend 5 minutes waiting for an open kiosk because a bunch of them are out of order, type your information in, go through a bunch of screens, only to be told you need to wait in line to see an agent. So think about the information and experiences that we want to give buyers. And then translate those needs into content that is truly delivering value to our buyers through frictionless experiences. It can seem counterintuitive, but you'll succeed when you think serve first, transact second. Content that serves goes beyond the surface and digs deep to answer questions and provide insights. And sometimes this can require technical expertise and detail. So that's why leveraging those subject matter experts that deeply understand your products and customers is so important. Understand what content will be valuable. You need to map it to the customer's buy cycle. You'll want to begin by understanding your buyers and how they buy. If you can do first-person research or personas, that's best, but it's not an all-or-nothing proposition. If you don't have the time or budget for that, you can do what we call tabletop personas and still get a more clear picture of your buyers and how they buy to help you with your content. You'll want to understand common questions, needs, and pain points and how that aligns with each stage of the funnel. Then think about what type of content and messages you need to create to address those questions during the education, solution, and selection buying stages. We've developed a worksheet that can help you with this process, and I'll share that with you at the end of this webinar. You'll also need to think through the best formats to deliver your content, and there are a lot of considerations here. So think through how to match your objectives and the funnel stage you're trying to address. Ensure you're marrying the message and the format with where prospects are at. How long should the content be? Should it be technical and in-depth or persuasive? For example, top-of-funnel content might be more persuasive and punchier, while content that fits the needs of customers at the bottom of the funnel may need to get more detailed or more technical, like offering a demo or quote that speaks to their specific needs. So finally, to set you up for a great 2019, I want to help you get inspired. We've already talked a lot about aligning content to your business objectives, the buyer's need, and the buyer's journey. But I want to encourage you to make 2019 the year that you experiment a little bit with content types to find the right mix to really break through and engage your audience. B2B decisions are still emotional, so even though content must be accurate and factual, above all, it must still be compelling and resonant to your buyer. These purchase decisions are high value, high risk for your buyers and often also involve multiple stakeholders. So you really need to think through what are the types of content that are needed to convince the whole buying group. What do I need to do to convince the CEO versus the CFO versus maybe an end user? In reality, it's probably a wide variety of different content along a spectrum from detailed to creative, short to long, dense copy to video and interactive tools. And the key here is delivering powerful content types and creatives that your buyers respond to. There's no perfect mix here. But it's about finding what's meaningful to your audience and getting out of your same old rut. One major content type to explore for 2019 is interactive content. If you haven't done interactive content before, 2019 is your year. Interactive content can be twice as effective at generating conversions. And it's more like a conversation, creating that digital user experience that replicates the kind of give and take that is so effective in face-to-face sales conversations, but often gets lost in the digital buyer's journey. So when you talk about wanting to bust through that roadblock of content fatigue, interactive content should be your go-to. Buyers prefer it more than passive content. And there are certainly many options when it comes to interactive content, but we've seen that certain strategies align best at different points in the buyer's journey. For example, all the way to the left for upper funnel prospects, things like data visualizers and assessments can help prospects identify their own challenges and decide to break the status quo. For middle funnel buyers, you'll want to think more about things like demos to explore solutions and calculators that help buyers visualize the benefits they'll gain, and configurators that can help them narrow their options. And then finally, for lower funnel buyers and customers, you may want to think about e-commerce experiences and gamification that can ease the purchase process and create stickiness and adoption. It would be easy to look at that previous slide and feel totally overwhelmed and start hearing a bunch of objections in your mind about how you'll never get the time or budget for all that content. But I can help here too. Think about how you can reuse and repurpose content. Yeah, that might not be a new idea in and of itself, but how you think about it can help you break through in 2019. You can bring a lot of efficiency to bear to help you create a variety of valuable content when you start with repurposing in mind. So when you plan from the very beginning to develop multiple pieces of content from an initial piece of work, you can maximize the impact of time and input that you get from SMEs, and you'll know the level of detail that you need to gather and know about how each piece can either stand on its own or if you need to create a theme or series. And you'll ensure that you get the input you need from a SME right up front rather than having to go back to them for more information later. If you'll know that you'll be creating interactive content, you can be thinking about which types of interactions make sense from the very beginning. And you also kind of diversify your risk and opportunity by creating multiple touch points for prospects to engage with. So here are a few repurposing ideas to keep in your back pocket. You can cut punchy 5-second video clips from a longer form video to create catchy shareable bits for social media. You can take the results from your case studies and create an interactive calculator that helps your customers envision those results for their business. Or take the ideas from a webinar and turn them into a how-to video or an interactive tool. So finally, I want to take you through a few more content ideas. I hope at least one of them will jump out at you and give you some inspiration for a fresh approach in 2019. This example helps you think through how can I transform how customers experience my products. This interactive tool uses 3D modeling to show different parts of a mattress that aren't visible and then positions benefits for 3 different personas in the hospitality industry. And talk about repurposing, this tool is used as a sales enablement tool by the sales team on tablets, which achieved a 90% adoption rate, and it's also on our client's website. Or what about a conversation? If your business sells something that's often seen as a commodity, what types of content can you create that speak to the things that really matter to your buyer? On the left is a video about how this steel company is redefining the whole buying process and being the easiest company to work with. And the right side features a website that's built around creating a community to share ideas that can shape how the industry works. Essentially, this client is asking, what can we do that you don't even know you want done yet? What about helping customers see potential in real terms that matter to them? In this case, it's dollars and cents demonstrated by a calculator that shows the upside potential if the prospect were to use this software product. Think about creating tailored calculators that demonstrate product value, create a variety of entry points through targeted conversion paths on your website. And bonus, calculators and assessments like these can allow you to capture data and intel on your prospects that can help you with targeted marketing and sales follow-up. How about taking complex data and making it meaningful and digestible for buyers? This interactive map took an overwhelming amount of data across a variety of comparisons and indices and simplifies it into a tool that makes it easy for prospects to engage and understand. And data visualizers like this can help customers understand a problem, see an opportunity, and evaluate how your product would improve their results. And finally, maybe 2019 is the year that you go beyond your product, go beyond your brand to create a movement. American Metal is a grassroots initiative supporting the domestic steel industry, and it's supported by a variety of different content marketing types and formats, from things like videos of steel workers talking in first person to merchandise that helps folks share their Made in the USA pride. And this type of content approach takes the conversation to a whole new level and can elevate the profile of your business. So with that, I hope I have given you some ideas for a fresh approach to 2019 to make it your best year ever. I also want to let you know that I have more content to share. I've created a content portal just for the attendees of this webinar, and it includes things like links to download the content mapping worksheet that we looked at, as well as some other worksheets for personas and journey mapping. There's some more on-demand webinars that fit this topic. Our interactive content ebook with more ideas about how to use content throughout the buyer's journey, and our modern marketing assessment to see how you stack up against your peers and help you define some areas you might want to focus on growing on in 2019. So you can get all of this content at the URL that's on the screen, and we'll be sending out a link out after the webinar as well. Thank you so much for your attention, and let's continue the conversation. If you have questions about anything that we covered today, don't hesitate to reach out. I'd love to hear more about your challenges and what's working for you. Now, I think we have time for a few questions, so I'll pass it back to Andrew.
That was awesome. A really good sort of model, structure, process for people, and a lot of great examples as well. So hopefully you all got some great inspiration. Quick reminder, go ahead and type in questions in the Q&A tab if you haven't already. We're going to try to get to a few of those now. And if I don't get to all the questions, I'll ask Kelly to follow up with you directly. So I'm going to jump right into that, Kelly. Tom really liked what you had, the suggestions you offered about subject matter experts, SMEs. He asked specifically, how do I identify which SMEs to tap into in my organization?
So that's a great question, and there's a couple different ways to look at it. But the first thing I'd say is a willing participant. So sometimes you're going to have folks that already seem a little bit kind of friendlier to what you're doing in marketing, and maybe getting one or two of them on board can help kind of ease the way for you to work with other folks. But the other thing is you really are wanting to use subject matter experts to deliver that valuable content to your customers. So you want to think about folks that really understand what's unique about the solution or product that you're selling and has a way to really tap into providing expertise and detail that is going to be really meaningful to customers. So folks that feel really connected to your market would be where I would tell you to start.
Okay, great. Carol was asking about the suggestion you made about getting sales to utilize. She said any other suggestions about how to do that, how to get them more bought in, and how to get them to actually use the content in their conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. It can be kind of a bummer when you spend a lot of time creating content and then it doesn't get used. So one of the first things I'll say is know your audience. So even think through the formats that your sales team will use in the same way that you would think about the formats that your customers might want. So think about what devices are they likely to use, how long or short of content are they looking for, and put things in formats that they'll use. Make sure you're tying into their real needs, so don't create stuff before you really ask the sales team, hey, what would help you? What would help you kind of close the deal? And make it easy. Just make sure that you're putting things in formats that are helpful, files that they can find, answering the actual questions and needs and objections that they're getting throughout the sales process so that the content that you're creating is truly helping answer the needs that they have. And then what I would say is, take feedback and iterate. When you kind of show a give and take and a commitment to your sales partners and demonstrate that you're willing to listen to them and evolve what you're doing over time, they're going to be more bought in on using what you create.
Yep, great points, great points. Question from Lisa. She asked if you could expand on what you mean by tabletop personas that you had mentioned. If you could, any other suggestions? She said, what if we can't afford sort of full personas? Any other guidance you could give there?
Yeah, for sure. So the first thing I'll say is a full-blown persona project where you really tap into first-person interviews and insights from your customers is always going to be the best, and I definitely would recommend that if you can do it, but it's not for everyone. And so I think it's important to say it's not all or nothing. It's not if you can't afford that, don't do personas at all. What we mean by tabletop personas is gather some folks in a room that have really direct insights to the clients or customers and their buying process, and go through the process of documenting their insights in a persona format. So even if you can't go out and do that first-person work with customers, talk to folks who work with customers on a regular basis. And just going through the process of getting the insights that are swimming around in their mind down on paper so that everyone can see them and everyone can kind of push and pull on them so that you can come to a final agreement on this is what we say our customer's all about, this is what they value, this is what their buy cycle looks like. Getting that down on paper is really valuable. It gives you something to point back to as you're going through your content process.
Okay, great. We're going to take one more, I think. We're about running out of time. So, Doug, you talked a lot, had some great examples about interactive content. He said he really likes the idea of interactive, but from what he's heard, it might be too expensive for his budgets, and he's not sure he has the resources. Any thoughts or suggestions around that?
Yeah, this is the one where it's like, hey, get scrappy, get creative, and there's definitely some things that you can do. So, some people think interactive calculators and content have to have a special tool, or I have to have a special platform that I can build that on. But think about what you've already have. Maybe you can create a PDF with some clickable links that at least gets people engaged. Or maybe you can leverage something that's already within your marketing automation system to create a form that at least has 2 or 3 questions that people can answer with radio buttons that at least starts to point to something that's a little bit more like an interactive quiz or assessment. So this is one where it's like roll up your sleeves and don't think of it as an all or nothing proposition, but what can you do with the tools that are available to you to keep moving down that spectrum towards creating interactive experiences that really engage your audience?
Okay, perfect. We had some other questions that were delving a little bit further into the content examples you shared, Kelly, so I'm going to ask you to, I'll forward those to you and ask you to follow up with those folks directly. But I did want to thank you. I thought this was really great content, so appreciate you making time and such great work here.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Andrew.
All right, I want to thank everyone for making the time. Hopefully you enjoyed this as much as I did. Now I'd like to encourage everybody to check out the rest of the sessions that will be taking place throughout the week. Next one coming up is at 2 p.m. Eastern, and we're going to be looking at databases and segmentation and how to make your data work better for you. So it'll be a good related topic. I'd recommend you checking that out. So thanks again to everybody for attending, and hopefully we'll see you on the next session. Have a great day, everybody.